Hi, good day, John. Okay, and how are you today?
Excellent, thanks, Jenny. And how are you in UK?
Yeah, good here. Yeah. I'd like to say thank you to the listeners for the lovely comments that we're receiving about these conversations that we're having. And it's been a while, hasn't it, John? It's been, I think it must be, about 10 weeks maybe since we last
Yeah, well,
spoke.
it's been a busy 10 weeks for me,
Yes.
selling our house, packing, and then buying another house, relocating and unpacking. But we're pretty much there now.
Good. And have you settled in?
We've settled in. Yep, and we're looking forward to spending the rest of our lives here, really.
Fantastic. Looked absolutely amazing on your photographs. Yeah. And you've got a
Yeah.
lovely pier like we have now.
Yeah. Oh, there's three, actually, but one is a kilometre long. It's amazing.
Great. That's great. Well, and I think my May was very busy, wasn't it? Because it was the mental health month. So there were lots of posts going around in May. And then in June, I had three principals conference that I went to. I went to two actually, one online and one in person, and they were really good, speaking about divine mind, consciousness and thought. And then I think July's been spent mainly assimilating everything. So, so I wonder where we should go today. Where perhaps, have you got anything specific in mind that you'd like to share? Because it has been a while. So,
Well, I've got an upcoming perspectives sort of conference which I've been invited to talk, and all the other speakers got together today on Zoom just to get to know each other a little bit, I guess, and just talk about speaking. And I shared a little bit of my journey actually, which was in about 2010, probably 12 years ago. Well, prior to that, if I ever spoke even to a small group of people, I would run out of breath and get very anxious. So what happened 12 years ago now, my sister called me. She phoned me and asked if I could speak at their Christmas dinner. And she'd been talking to the deacon, I think he is. He oversees a lot of churches in Brisbane, and my sister is on the committee at one of those churches. And he said, "Who's the most radical Christian you know?" And she said, "That would be my brother." So she called me and asked if I would speak at this Christmas dinner. And so, I did. I accepted anyhow. I agreed to do it. And I thought, because I knew at that point that, getting out of your comfort zone is always a place of growth. So I rocked up on my Harley Davidson, as it turned out in those days when I was riding motorbikes, at the venue, which was a hall. And it was quite amazing. We all stood around and sort of drinking tea and saying good day before we sat down to dinner. And there was 84 people, I remember, because I counted them, on two big long tables. And do you know, I made the decision prior that I was going to trust God, the universe, my source energy, whatever. I was going to trust for the words. So I did. I saw myself really as a channel, and my talk I called share your story, and which I often talk about because I really believe that sharing our story inspires people. People get to realise they're not the only ones, and things like that. Anyhow, I talked for 50 minutes without, saying or ah even, and certainly I didn't run out of breath. And at the end of it, everybody stood up and applauded. So, ever since then, because that gave me a lot of confidence, of course. These days, I think I could talk to a football stadium. I wouldn't run out of breath or get anxious. Yeah, because well, that's what I did. I decided to trust God or trust the universe, my source energy, trust that I'm a channel and the words will come. And, you know, when we do trust our relationship with our source, it makes a world of difference. You know, we can do anything. Yeah, so I just thought I'd share that for the second time today, actually. Yeah.
That's beautiful, John. Yeah. Trusting is so important, isn't it? When all sorts of things are going on around everywhere, you know, just to stay in that calm, centered space of the heart and just trust what's right. I love that. I did a little sort of tabletop at an open day here about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I just went in like that, just trusting, and just went with the flow. And had some really lovely conversations around mental health and around mental health awareness. So much so that 2 or 3 people said to me, "Do you do workshops?" And I was like, no. So I am thinking about putting a talk on in September, which would be here in Saltburn by the sea where I live. Just be for an hour and just pull some people together who would be interested, maybe even attract some professionals. That'd be good. So that's where I'm going to go with that. And I'll just trust that the conversation just flows through how it's meant to do for the people that are there. Did you find that people did people ask you questions afterwards?
A lot of people came up and spoke to me afterwards, that's for sure. But it wasn't really a Q&A, or, you know, it was just a talk, a 50-minute talk, as it turned out, and at a dinner. Yeah. But afterwards, certainly a lot of people come up to me. Yeah. So, you know, it was a beautiful thing. And from that, actually, I decided to start groups myself, you know, which I did. They were mindfulness groups and also spirituality groups as well. And yeah, go for it, Jenny. You know, I really believe every suburb, every neighbourhood in the world should have some sort of group meeting, you know, or a yarning circle, as we like to call them in Australia. It's the Aboriginal word for group meetings, really. Having a yarn. That's what we call it in Australia, having a talk. It's excellent. So I'd encourage you, go for it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's going to happen in September. So I'll be able to get that up and running. So this the same talk that you gave at the church, is this what you're going to be speaking about with the?
Well, sharing our story, you know, is always part of any talk I do. And I've done heaps of talks and podcasts and radio interviews and talking to people, even a lecture theatre at a university one time. And my topic is always mindfulness. It wasn't so much back then when I was talking about sharing your story, and I actually encouraged people to share their stories and share their testimonies of how they came to be in the faith. You know, that's how it was to that audience. But of course, it depends on the audience. So that's why there's no point in planning a talk either, as long as you know your topic, know your subject, because you don't really know which way to go until you get there and you actually connect with your audience. Just connect, you know, maybe glance around at everybody, try and make eye contact with everyone and connect. And then trust the fact that you're channeling what they maybe need to hear, even. Yeah. So
even
that
if they don't think
me, there's no talks the same, because there's nothing rehearsed. Yeah. Just like we do.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, sorry about that interruption there, John. Yeah, it is. It is about all that, going with the flow and trusting that whatever's needs to be said on that day will be said. I mean, I also gave big hugs to people. And 2 or 3 people really understood the meaning of the hug, and to hold that hug for eternity, to hold that hug until such time as both of us could feel the and knew that we'd both settled into that heart space. Because sometimes what happens when you hug, you'll hug and then you can feel the other person trying to get away. And if that happens, they're not getting the full benefit. So I sort of just say gently, stay with it if you can and feel it. And I had some beautiful hugs on that Sunday, Easter Sunday it was actually. I had some beautiful hugs whereby people would go and then you could feel them just relax that little bit. Then you could feel them just relax that little bit more. And then you got the moment where you both were in that same space. And because you were both in that same space, you automatically then let the hug go. So, and from that, it really helps. It helps with your, is it the serotonin? I think it is. And the happiness hormones and everything. It just feels so blissful. So that was another beautiful thing that happened. The gorgeous, gorgeous hugs that I was able to share with people on that day.
That's excellent. And part of every talk I do, I make myself vulnerable by sharing part of my journey, make myself vulnerable. And that way, when you do make yourself vulnerable, you're giving other people permission to also be vulnerable and open up. And then that makes it, it makes it a beautiful thing, really. And, I'll mention it again today. I encourage people to look up a talk by Brené Brown on vulnerability. She did a it's on YouTube, and it's a TED talk, and it's got something like 18 million views. Vulnerability by Brené Brown, TED talk on YouTube. So I encourage our listeners, if you like, look that up. It's a very entertaining talk, quite humorous as well. And she talks about the power of vulnerability. And honestly, it's a superpower. When we make ourselves vulnerable, like I said, it gives other people permission to be vulnerable as well. Great things can happen. Yeah, so I just thought I'd mention that vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the great things that happen from sharing vulnerability is healing.
Yeah. Because people realise they're not the only ones, it's very good.
Yeah. Able to share it, aren't they? And one of the things that I am going to bring into the topic, it's going to be about spirituality and mental health, because it's about bringing the spirituality into the mental health sector, because they still are not acknowledging that, and you can't miss that core aspect out. So that's a part of what I want to be speaking about on that day, and I know I will be. Like you say, I ain't, and there's my Yorkshire coming out. I ain't going to be planning anything as such.
Excellent.
Oh.
Yeah, well, in mental health services here in Australia, and indeed worldwide, spirituality is absent. It's just not there. And I don't know whether it's out of fear or what it is. But honestly, I've talked to so many people, hundreds, if not thousands, actually, collectively over the years, that have recovered simply by finding their spiritual selves, by connecting with their inner self, which of course is our authentic self, which is our spirit, our soul. And when people do make that connection, then everything changes. You know, when we realize that we're never on our own. And when we foster a relationship with spirit, with soul, and it doesn't matter whether it's Buddha, Jesus, Allah, you know, the universe, source energy, and it doesn't matter. The important thing and what does matter is having relationship with spirit and walking together and doing life together. It's amazing. And it leads you into some beautiful places, and you meet such loving people, because your life can't, when you set your intention, your heart intention, which is what's connected to spirit, our heart, not our mind. Our minds can mislead us. We know that.
Absolutely.
But when we set our intention, synchronicities start to happen. We start to meet the right people, or we overhear things, or things happen, things that we might have one time called coincidences, but they're not. Yeah. And when you start living a life of synchronicity, which relationship with spirit enables that, then, you know, everything changes. Because, well, as you know, I had 15 dark years, I call them, when I was stuck in the mental health system and being depressed, being manic, being suicidal, you name it, being on a smorgasbord of medications. And then finally, after 15 years of that, in 1997, 25 years ago now, 25 years ago that I've been walking in the light now, an old friend was passing through town, and he had what he called a spiritual prompt to come and knock on my door and tell me his story. And that led to my spiritual awakening. And to this day, I haven't been able to find him ever since. He just kept going, and it's like he disappeared. But I have no doubt he was sent by God, by the universe, to share his story with me and put me on the right track. I was ready, and I stepped from the dark into the light at that time. And, like I said, he has no idea what he did for me that day, just simply by sharing his story. And that's why I share my story, and I encourage everybody to share their stories, because it's the very thing that will help overcome stigma around mental health, for one thing. And like I said before, it inspires people, so.
It does.
Share your story, do your groups. Yeah.
And I'm looking behind you there. Live, love, laugh, sing, dance, dream, play, give. That's as far down as I can see. Smile and cherish.
Yeah, beautiful words, aren't they?
Yeah, that's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. And without that friend coming and giving you that prompt, you wouldn't be doing all those things probably now.
No. No, I'd probably still be stuck in the mental health system, or gone from this world altogether.
Yeah. So it is the beauty of story sharing, isn't it, that really makes that difference. And speaking of story sharing, I am going to nip off screen, because that bottom word, cherish, in our book we have a poem called Cherish. So I'm just feeling to read that out.
Great. So follow your spiritual prompt right now and go grab it. Yeah.
So I'm going to go nip off screen.
Yep.
Here we are. I shall find page it's on. Cherish. Page 16. Okay. So, and I shall read it first, and then I shall show the artwork that went with it. Cherish the world we live in. Cherish the lives of all. Cherish the world we live in. cherish one and all. Living together, sharing the land, living together, hand in hand, working together in peace and calm, sharing the workload, doing no harm. Learning together indigenous cultures, working the true universal laws, believing in healing, then everything soars. Being empathic, compassionate and true, caring and sharing in all that we do. Saving the world begins with you. Cherish the world we live in, cherish the lives of all, cherish the world we live in, cherish one and all. Looking after the earth, looking after the land, looking after the sky and the sea and the sand, watching out for the wildlife, the birds and the bees, feeling the wind as it breathes through the trees. Domestic pets, dogs and feline friends, companions for life, unconditionally with us, their happiness rife. The mammals and insects, the wolves and big cats galore, looking out for them all, it's nature's law. Cherish the world we live in, cherish the lives of all, cherish the world we live in, cherish one and all.
Ah, that's just beautiful.
Not sure if that's going to show.
Yeah, that shows great. Yep.
See how we can all share the world, we can all share the land. We don't have to take from anybody.
No, just be grateful and cherish.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing, Jenny. That's really good.
Yeah, that was great synchronicity from your board, wasn't it? Because
It sure was.
Because I could not see those bottom two words.
The bottom one, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't see them. I'd smile. I love to smile.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cherish. Thanks, Jenny. It's really good connecting.
Yeah, I think that feels good, doesn't it? I think we'll call it a day there, shall we? And
I think so.
Yeah, we'll hope to see our listeners again soon, and we are really, really grateful to them all.
And like I often say, be mindful, pause, and connect, especially with your source. So, bye for now.
Okay, thank you. Bye.